Hey everyone, it's Mike Adams here with Big Mike's Magic, and welcome back to another day in the arena. And in today's video, guys, we are going to be doing a deck breakdown here on a deck that I'm calling the Patriot, okay? And why? You know, as an Army veteran, you always love a good patriotic deck that's supporting the red, white, and blue here. But based on the colors, that's where the name obviously comes from. And this is going to be, you know, what is called a Jeskai Fires style of deck, where one of the highlighted cards of this entire deck is the Fires of Invention, 1 red, 3 colorless. And the powerful thing about this card, and it took me for a while, again, I'm an old school Magic player, but I was just started playing this game online here a couple of months ago, and that's when this deck was really starting to pick up. And at first I didn't get it, right, with Fires of Invention. I was like, gosh, you can only cast spells during your turn. You know, that sucks. I can't use my counter spells, you know, and you can only cast 2 spells each turn. I was like, right? But then when you look at the next piece of the language here, you may cast spells with a converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control without paying their mana costs. So the whole deal of having to have the right mana to play your big creatures or your big spells is no longer a part of the equation. So if you got 6 mana out there, you can cast any 6 casting cost creature or spell that you've got. It doesn't matter the mana configuration. And you can cast 2 of them. Okay, so typically in a scenario where, let's say you got your 5 mana out there and you got your Fires of Invention, you know, 5 mana, yeah, you could cast 1 Cavalier of Flames, okay, on your turn, okay, if you just had to pay the hard mana cost. But with Fires, you don't have to pay the mana cost. You just put it right into play, and you could even put a second one into play, and then from there you could use the abilities on the card because you didn't have to spend your mana. From there, it just started to click. I was like, these Fires decks are really powerful, because once this hits the board and a couple of your big creatures hit the board, it is pretty much game over, okay? So this deck right here, let's run through what we got here. So that's the main highlight, of course. We got 4 Omen of the Sea to get you drawing cards quick, to get you scrying through the deck quickly. Because one of the points of this is that we want to keep the board as clear as possible. You know, the mono red, you know, now we got mono white and mono black, you know, with all these little creatures running around. And you want to be able to keep the board as clean as possible so that way you can get your fires out there and then start taking those big shots at them. So Omen of the Sea helps you get through your deck nice and quick. 1 blue, 1 colorless, scry 2, draw a card. You can always sacrifice it again to scry more cards, okay? Justice Strike, it's a really powerful way to just spot removal on a creature. Target creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. Okay, so obviously you want to make sure that you're targeting a creature that has power either equal or greater than its toughness. Okay, so pay attention to that. 1 red, 1 white. We got 2 Bone Crusher Giants in here. You got 1 red, 1 colorless for 2 damage straight up to any target. Damage can't be prevented. When you cast it as a creature, you got a 4/3 creature here. 1 red, 2 colorless. And whenever anybody targets this with a spell, they take an additional 2 damage from the Bone Crusher Giant, so that's really cool. We got 2 Banishing Lights in here, cool enchantment. Whenever it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent. Okay, so it's not just a creature, it's not just a planeswalker, it's whatever they have that you don't like, okay? So if they got an enchantment out there that you don't like, you can actually just banish that. An artifact, you can banish that. So really cool card, and most people don't have a way to get rid of enchantments in their main deck. So whenever you pick something and get rid of it, it's usually gone for the game. We've got 4 Faerie Time Ravelers. Okay, again, this gives us the control of them not being able to counter our stuff. Nothing more annoying than when you finally get your Fires of Invention and they counter it. Okay, and then you got to wait forever to get your next one, and chances are by the time that comes, you're dead. You know, so if you can get Faerie out there, now they can't counter you on your turn. Get your fires out there, make your play. We got 3 Deafening Clarions. Okay, so 1 red, 1 colorless, and 1 white, and you could choose 1 or both. Okay, and again, powerful. Okay, if you get low on life, you know, this is really great. Once your big stuff hits the battlefield and you're able to attack, to just add lifelink to these big swings that you're going to be taking. But either way, 3 damage to each creature, so 3 damage across the board, and then also you could choose 1 or both. So you can also choose to have creatures you control gain lifelink until the end of turn. So again, powerful. We got 4 of the Sphinx of Foresight, 2 blue, 2 colorless. It's always fantastic when you have 1 or 2 of these in your initial starting draw. You may reveal this card from your opening hand, and if you do, scry 3 at the beginning of the game. So at the beginning of your first upkeep. So that's really powerful because right away you're able to just look at those top 3 and be like, okay, well I need this, I don't need this, and you can sweep it. You can just get rid of it, get it to the bottom of your deck. Okay. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, when this is in play, you get to scry 1. Of course, we already talked about Fires of Invention, which is one of the main engines of this deck. I don't want to say that it's game over if you don't get this in play, because it's not necessarily game over, but this is just a key linchpin to this deck. Because typically, once you get this in play, and if they can't get rid of it, you have a high probability of winning. From there, we got the big swings. Okay, we got Kenrith, okay, the Returned King. 1 white, 4 colorless. It's got a boatload of abilities here. Pay 1 red. All creatures gain trample and haste till the end of turn. You got 1, and with this deck, we'll just talk about what we actually are going to do in this deck. So 1 white, 2 colorless. Target player gains 5 life. So if you're short on life, you could pump up, and as much mana as you got out there. Okay, the cool thing about Fires is when you have that in play and you stick this out there, you didn't have to tap your mana for it. So right away, you can use these abilities. Or pay 3 colorless, 1 blue, target player draws a card. So again, really powerful. We got 2 Cavalier of Gales here, 3 blue, 2 colorless, okay? Flying, 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards, okay? And then you take 2 cards from your hand and put them on top of your library in an order that you choose. And then when this dies, it shuffles into your library and you get to scry 2. We got 4 Cavalier of Flame in this deck, okay? 3 red, 2 colorless. This thing is a beast, okay? It's a 6/5, okay? Then you can pay 1 red, 1 colorless, and creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until the end of turn. So again, really powerful, okay? If you were hard casting this on round 5, okay, well it's in play, and it's gonna sit there for them to kill, right? When you got Fires of Invention in play, and now it's round 5 and you're able to stick this out there, you can immediately tap, okay, and give this thing haste and boost it up and swing right away for some big damage. Okay, whenever this enters the battlefield as well, you get to discard any number of cards. So if you got a handful of cards and you just don't like them, you can discard them all, and then you draw that many cards. Okay, so it's a cool way to cycle through. And then whenever this thing dies, it deals X damage to target opponent and each planeswalker they control. So if they got some planeswalkers out there, this swipes at them too when it dies, where X is equal to the number of land cards in your graveyard. So if you got 2, 3, 4 land in there, right? If you get an overabundance of land in your hand, you already got 5, 6 on the battle in play. You pitch them into your graveyard, and then when this dies, they take extra damage. Their planeswalkers take damage. So Cavalier of Flames is a beast in this deck. Okay, we got 1 time wipe in here. Again, just kind of a just in case we need to use it. And if you have one of your big creatures in play, you want to be able to put that back in your hand to replay again. And of course, with the new addition of the Dream Trawler, okay, I have versions of this deck where it was almost the same, okay, minus the Banishing Lights and obviously the Dream Trawler, prior to this new expansion. Those are really the new additions into this deck for me. But this thing is just such a major win condition that once this thing hits the battlefield, many, many times it is game over. Because whenever you draw, okay, it's going to get a +1/+0 to the end of turn. It's already got flying. It's already got life link, so it allows you to gain that life. And then whenever it attacks, you get to draw a card as well. So again, it's just a powerful engine to draw cards with, and they can't get rid of this thing, okay, unless they got something that makes you sacrifice, and it's the only thing you got on the board, or they got a board wipe. Spot removal doesn't work on this because you can just simply discard a card. It gains hexproof until the end of turn. So those are all the spells, those are all the creatures. As well, we got just a boatload of mana in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 19, 21, 24, 27 big mana in this deck, okay? And so, again, this is the Patriot, okay, a version of Jeskai Fires. We can take a look at the sideboard here. Pretty standard sideboard. I would say, I got an Agent of Treachery in there, another Time Wipe just in case. Again, in the gameplay, we're going to be doing best of one, so the sideboard's not going to come into play. But one thing I really like, again, this is a new card that came out with a new set, Storm's Wrath. Okay, it deals 4 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Okay, in this version of Fires, you can see in the main deck here, I'm not using any planeswalkers. So this is really, really cool. This is a great way to kind of just, again, wipe the board. And let's say you're going against someone who's running a hero deck. They got Faerie out there, they got Narset out there, they got all kinds of stuff out there. Okay, in your best of 3, this is a great card to pop in there to go ahead and smack all those planeswalkers all at once and just get them out of your face, right? You've got Chandra in here. Okay, again, this is just the sideboard. You're not going to see any of that in the gameplay today. But this is kind of the sideboard that I would use. Exile target artifact or enchantment. It can either be this or a disenchant. The Tithe Taker, this one is really just to go against the Simic, Simic Flash, type people. It's a good counter to that. Either Gust to deal with the, red-green thing that's going on, Lava Coil. And then again, more against the Flash, because that's one of the decks that really gives this one trouble, is kind of that Simic, really the Simic Flash. The ramp isn't full of counter spells, you know what I mean? But this one, also, if you're going against blue-white, kind of counter control, this is a great card to pop in there as well, okay? So there you go, guys, and let's go back to the main deck here. Hopefully you guys got value in this deck breakdown here. If you see any areas in which we can improve this deck, or if you see any misplays as a part of the gameplay attached to this deck, make sure to give this video a like, of course, to help support the channel and keep it going. But as well, if you see anything any ways that we can improve, make sure to leave those in the comments as well. Okay, we're gonna dive into the gameplay. Thanks for checking out Big Mike's Magic, and we will see you in the next video.